We're talking about work on your business, not in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm never in it. I'm always working on it. Somebody's got to be the boss. Somebody's got to set the strategy. There's 1,000 ways to do it, and you just pick one and test it. Anything that you're doing that works, that can be automated, automate it. And they think that the business is doing the thing. And that's 5% of a business.
Yeah.
The other 95% is the same.
Welcome back to the Built by Me podcast. Joining us now is Sid Graef, the owner of Spectrum Window Cleaning and the host of the huge convention. Sid has an incredible journey from entrepreneurship, and we're going to learn all about it right now. So let's get into the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Built by Me podcast. We're at the huge convention, and joining us today, we have Sid
Graef.
Sid Graef. Thanks for coming on, Sid.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Glad you get set up a podcast booth here. It's really cool seeing the guests that you have on. Well done.
It's been so fun, and like people walking by,
running
like,
into people.
in.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome.
I've been really enjoying it.
It's been great.
Also, thank you for having comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
As we were talking about earlier, I was like, I haven't sat down today, and I sat in this chair and I was like,
you know what? Selfishly, I did it for myself.
Yeah.
I was like, what do I want to sit in all day?
Well done.
If we're gonna be sitting down all day, we might as well do it comfortably, right?
Yeah.
So let's dive right in. I want to start off with, what drives your passion for small business, and how did you first get into entrepreneurship?
Wow. Okay. What drives my passion is I just want to help people. I mean, somebody asked me recently, like, what's your mission or what's your purpose? And I go, I want to honor God and help people, and that's it. So whatever way I can do that. Like if I find so, and now it needs to be something I enjoy too.
Yeah.
Do that. But when I started, I've always been pretty risk tolerant, and when I got into entrepreneurship, I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur or a business owner or anything. I just needed to pay rent, and it was due in 2 weeks, and I'd quit my job, and I just got married. It was like things did not look good.
Yeah.
And I had a next door neighbor that cleaned windows, and I was like, "Hey Jude, would you mind if I rode in the truck with you tomorrow and just like watch what you do?" Like thinking maybe I can pay rent. And he's like, "Yeah, come on." So I rode around with him for a few hours. I saw how much cash he made. No, he was a one-man operation. He's just taking cash for storefront, window cleaning. I was like, "That's it? Like I can do that." And so he gave me an old squeegee, and I fished a bucket out of a dumpster. And I said, "I'm in business."
Did you tell the clients you got the bucket out of the dumpster?
Yeah, it was an old pickle bucket. And I was like, that's cool. And I didn't have any money. I didn't have money to get tools, like proper tools. I have one squeegee. And so I got several pairs of socks and stuffed them into one. And I used that as the wand. I would dunk it and scrub windows with it.
Wow.
And do that. And I was terrible. And, but I didn't quit. I just learned.
You just kept getting better.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really like humble beginnings. And like starting with the passion. I love that.
Well,
go
I was going to say, what kept you going?
Well, it turns out, so I'm a farm boy at heart. I mean, I grew up on a farm in West Texas, and all you do is work, and you figure things out, and you work with your hands. And so I was very ingrained with that Midwest Protestant work ethic. And I was like, literally for me, when I started cleaning windows and got a few jobs, I was like, this is the easiest, best paying work I've ever done. Like because I grew up shoveling horse manure and building fence and like all kinds of stuff that's not pleasant. It's hard work. And like, then I describe window cleaning, especially even now when we hire new technicians, I go, one of the things I love about window cleaning is it's hard work, but it's not exhausting. It's physical, but like the end of the day, you still got gas in the tank to go do something fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could work all day. I was like, oh, well, this is pretty cool. But then, so we paid rent, did more. And then as soon as you start something, like my mindset is to grow. So let's grow. How far can we go? But the weird thing is, I didn't know anybody that did it except for my next door neighbor, Jude. And I didn't know how to do anything. And so I would experiment and figure things out. Then I got a job contract to do a new construction cleanup on a doctor's house. It was a pretty significant home.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea how to do it, what I'm going to, I can't reach all this. But there was a guy that was in our church fellowship that had cleaned windows for like 20 years. He just happened to be in town. I'm like, yo, Vince, you free this week? And he's like, what's up? I'm like, how about if I pay you to come work with me? And I paid him most of the job just so I could learn from him.
Wow.
Learn. So And funny story, we have all our little in-house jokes and quotes about window cleaning.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Vince. I'm like, man, you're really good. And he's like, I'm the best window cleaner there's ever been. I'm like, yeah. He was all like ego, and I'm like, ooh, Vince, you got a pretty big ego there. That sounds like you got a little hubris going on. And I go, he says, what's hubris? And I go, that means extreme self-confidence to the point of being arrogant. And he goes, I ain't arrogant. Nobody else is worth a shit. And I was like, that's what it means.
That's literally
exactly what it means. Yeah.
Exhibit A.
Yeah. But I enjoy the work, and it just kept going.
Yeah.
But literally for 19 years, I was a solo guy, just hustle and grit.
Love it.
And dreams of doing big things, but I didn't know how. And not to sound self-serving, because the huge convention is our project, but I came to the huge convention 7 years ago, and my only goal was to meet serious-minded business people, because my business was stuck.
Yeah.
3 employees and me, and I worked all the time. And I've been doing that for a long time, 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met a handful of really serious business builders and good people, and now we're the partners that own the convention.
Yeah.
But those people unlocked my business and my future. So now, and you saw, like, I've got a few of my team here, but
yeah,
like, I don't work in the field. I don't answer the phone. I do a lot of stuff, but you hear people talk about work on your business, not in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm never in it. I'm always working on it, which is pretty.
That is cool.
It's a really nice place to be.
So your why when you're working in your business versus working on it is obviously might change from like what you're doing. What would you say is your why, and what was it before when you're working in the business versus now?
Early on and for years, like the purpose of my business and my why in doing it was to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was completely unsexy, but very foundational.
Yeah. Very common too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. And now, so we made 2 significant shifts in our business that helped in catalyzing growth. One was like some point I said, I don't want to be just like the window washer. He's the window cleaner, the window guy. Like, I don't mind that as a title, but I was like, I want to be known as, and our company to be recognized as a partner in our community.
Yeah.
So we started doing volunteer work, and then I started serving on the board of a nonprofit, and then I was the president of that board for a while. And we have different things that we do. Like August is one of my favorite months of the year. We do 10% of our entire proceeds for the month we donate to a children's shelter. And next week on Wednesday, it's called Watson's Wednesday because it's Watson's Children's Shelter. We book as much work as we can, and we donate every nickel of it to the shelter. We even ask clients, like, make your check out to Watson's, not to us. So they get the donation receipt and do all that. And we raise, we'll donate. We raised $10,000 last year for that organization.
Amazing. Congrats.
Just to help them out. So we became a partner in community.
Yeah.
Then I was like, that's really not what I'm looking for. That's good. We did that. Then I was like, I don't want to be we don't want to be a window cleaning company. I now position it as like, we're a leadership training company, and we clean windows. That's how we teach. So the young men that you met, it's like they're growing leaders. One of them started with us right out of high school. It's his first job. He doesn't want to go to college. We want to teach young men and women how to lead. Mm-hmm. And no matter if they stay with us or they move on, I would like to help them be a better man or woman.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. What would you say was like a pivotal moment for you in your career, right? That kind of changed your approach to business.
It's amazing how an offhand comment can have a big impact.
Yeah.
I was on a job with 2 of my guys. I was cleaning the windows, and I stopped. The guys are cleaning windows, and I was giving them direction, doing all that. And the homeowner came out, and I spoke to her for a moment, and I was kind of apologetic. I was like, hey, yeah, usually I'm doing the work, but I'm telling the guys what to do. And she just looked at me. She said, well, somebody's got to be the boss. And it struck me as like, I feel guilty for being the boss, or like I'm not worthy of being the boss. This was years ago. I was like, oh, that's right. I am the boss. Yeah. And somebody's got to be the boss. So it is odd that I'd been in business for so long without stepping into the role of like, I am the owner, I am the leader. But there's this is going to go obtuse. When's you're a Bible fan? Probably people watching you like, you read the Bible. When's the last time you read the book of Habakkuk? The what?
Yeah.
Habakkuk, I don't know the verse, but it says write the vision to make it plain so those that read it can run with it. And where I had been inadequate was setting the vision and communicating the vision. The day I started to do that, I got real clear on what I wanted this to be and real clear on letting the team know what it was.
Yeah.
And I thought nobody would be on board. They're like, oh my God. Now we have, it's like, they're sports fans. So we have a goal. Now we know where the goal is.
Yeah.
Let's roll. Yeah. That was a big change.
Yeah, it's that leadership part of it too. Like I think that a lot of people look to their leaders to figure out what we should do, what's a good job, where we're going. So I feel like someone needed to step into that role. And
were you feeling like guilty of like, because it's like I almost compare it to like an army, right? Like where the general is like on the front lines with the what I mean with the rest of them, as opposed to like back at the base and saying and just giving them the directions. Was that kind of like a level? Like, was there some guilt involved in there?
Yes, it very much so. Because I talked about the farm boy mentality and the work ethic. It's like I grew up where you go. This I heard a lot was like, you got to work hard. Like your identity was connected to how hard you work, and you hear it all the time. Like if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And you know what? That's not true. That's just a belief.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that that's the only belief. But I really was like, I felt bad. Like. I used to say, I'm not going to have you guys do anything that I haven't already done myself. And then one day I was like, well, that's really limiting.
Yeah.
Because what if we need to do a big high-rise job? I don't know how to do all that.
Right.
But other people do. Why don't you just hire someone who's already good at the thing and have them do it? And I'm like, oh, gosh. Can't believe that only took me, 40 years to figure out. Right?
Yeah. I think it might be that common misconception that people might not listen to you if you haven't done that thing, but it is just being a leader, and they'll still listen to you, especially if you're transparent and be like, okay, like here's what I've seen that works really well, or even if they have like ideas of here's how I've been doing it. What do you think of this? Is that something that you would do as well with your team? Yeah.
And back to Mo, you made the point. You're like, in a military scenario, like the general, do they lead from the front or lead from the back?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of ways to look at that, but like somebody's got to set the strategy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And somebody's got to execute that strategy. And in a military scenario, you probably, especially nowadays, you need the leader in the back so they can still lead. Like if you're in front lines and you're in charge of everything and you're gone, now there's chaos.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this earlier, just in general, like about like when you're managing a team, if you're in the weeds of that team, you're not able to see like the next 3-4 moves of that team, because you're just too busy in the weeds. You're putting out fires, you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with whatever it is. Whereas if you kind of take a step back, you're able to kind of look at, okay, after we accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, we know what the next 3 moves can be, or we could be doing this instead. That could be different, right? So I think it gives you that again, on the business versus in the business mentality.
Yeah.
Becomes a big component of it.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about failure. What's a lesson that you've learned from something that you failed at?
There's been plenty of failure. So
yeah.
Before I started the window cleaning, well, we started window cleaning business in Florida. It was never really a business. I just owned a job. Just me and hustle.
Right.
We moved to Montana. I started another business, completely different industry, and it took off like a rocket. I'd never made so much money, and I went up like this for 6 months, and then it went straight in the toilet.
Oh, wow.
Like unbelievable. And it left us $80,000 in debt. I've got 3 little kids. We have no income. We are destitute. It was like a disaster on the biggest level for us as a family. And I was really resentful about the company I was representing that happened with. Until I just looked at them like, what can I learn? And the one thing I learned, because it put us in bankruptcy. Yeah. And I was like, I did not vet the people that I was working with. I just accepted there's like, this is what we're doing. This is what it's selling. I never looked at the background. I never understood if you're going to get into a partnership, that's like a marriage. And you really need to know if you're about to get married, you're like, does this person have a long history of cheating on their boyfriends? Maybe that pattern will continue. Let's not go there. So I learned my full responsibility is I failed in that, ended up in bankruptcy. It was on me because I didn't see who I was going into business with. I just wanted to see all the roses in Champagne, right?
Yeah.
How'd you lift yourself out of that?
Yeah.
Yesterday morning in the main stage, I told my origin story. I never usually talk about when I started in Florida. I talk about when I started in Montana. So we were in the hole so bad. And I was trying so hard with a different business. And it was fits and spurts. But like, you can't depend on that. And I'm the provider, right? Denise was a stay-home mom. And we're 80 grand in the hole. We got nothing. I still have a bucket and window cleaning tools in my garage in Montana. And we had $20 to our name. We've been feeding our children macaroni and cheese for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And like a 5-year-old, it takes 3 weeks for a 5-year-old to get sick of mac and cheese. And that was the end. Denise and I, we were living high. We were eating beans and rice like 3 weeks for breakfast. So it was pretty bad. So I like, Denise, are you okay if I take $5 and go print some flyers? I'm gonna clean windows. She's like, you got to do something. Like, we're desperate, and she was expecting our fourth child. So like, you talk about it. Like, we're in a tight spot.
Yes.
And I went out and knocked on doors on Saturday. I sold 3 jobs. Monday morning, I go into the first job. I have to go get a ladder because I don't own one. And literally, like, low spot. We're 80 grand in debt. We have $15 to our name. And I'm writing a hot check for a ladder to try to get food for my family. Like, that's emasculating. But I get the ladder. I go to the job. I collect a check for $210. Throw it in the bank. I'm like, whew, covered. Check's going to clear. Go to the next job. Collect payment. Go to the bank. Go to the grocery store. Buy 4 bags of groceries and come home. And I said, we're going to be okay. And Denise cries. And
You stuck to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like, what at that point? Like, why didn't you kind of just go and just get a job somewhere? You know what I mean?
I had been in the past, very long time ago, a great employee, like really hardworking and stuff, but I never saw a future in that. And probably it was like just limiting beliefs in that, I didn't finish college. I didn't really have a marketable skill or degree, and I thought that mattered for getting a good job. But I liked the idea of working for myself. So one of the things way back in the day in Florida, even though we weren't making much money, I was just hustling on my own. I controlled my schedule.
Yeah.
So when the kids went into T-ball, I was at every game. Like, I might work later, but I didn't miss the thing. Because my mom told me when the kids were really little, probably the only time I listened to her advice, she's like, she saw how hard I was working. She's like, son, your children will be young one time. Yeah. Don't miss it. I was like, okay, I can control my time. So that's why I stuck with it. And then also, I really love it.
So if you could give advice to other aspiring entrepreneurs, what would it be?
The number one piece of advice I would say is find a mentor. Find someone who has actually done what you want to do and just learn from them. People that have succeeded want to help the next guy. They always do. And that is, so I was interviewing Howard Partridge about a week before I interviewed you. Yeah. And he said, he just asked a rhetorical question. He's like, what's the cost of not finding someone to learn from? And I was like, 19 years. That's what it cost me. Mm-hmm. Like, I just thought I could figure it out on my own. I'm smart. I know how to do this. And that, like, I could have saved a lot of years and been a lot further down the road if I just stopped and found someone to learn from, like I did when I said, I'm going to go find some serious-minded business builders at the convention. Yeah. And that was the turning point.
Yeah.
See, I want to go back to your like part of your origin story, right? And at that moment in time where you're kind of down, $20 to your name, and you go and you print, is it door signs you said, or door hangers?
Yeah, you take the ugliest flyers in the world. I printed 8.5 by 11 white, cut them into 4, and just knocked on doors and
but it was essentially like it was essentially marketing, right? Like you kind of looked at it as an opportunity. You're like, okay, I have something here. How to market? The question I have is, it's such a good example, because the question I have is, how can like a small business leverage marketing when competition is like fierce? Yeah. Right. We were talking with Cowboy Colin earlier, and he actually mentioned something very interesting where he said majority of home service professionals, they'll never really own more than 10% of market share within their city.
Oh yeah.
So in your scenario there, going back to your story, you still kind of, you know what I mean, saw the vision of like, I need to just get my name out there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you can add on that?
So like everybody there's a triangle. You've got time, money, and energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it that you're working with. You can add creativity to that to amplify things, but if I don't have money, but I've got time and energy, I can go hustle. So that's what I did. I had zero money, but I've got time to go knock on doors. And that's probably the most effective marketing for a home service business. It's not efficient at all,
Yeah.
but it's highly effective because you go outside hunting, you go, you see it, you get it, you're done, right? But then as you grow, like you need to learn one of the best things I ever did is I studied marketing. We had these downtimes in the winter. The quick segue and story. We had been in business 6 years with the new business. We had 600 customers. So I'm gathering 100 customers a year. But that winter I studied marketing like crazy. So I built a marketing plan. I'm like, I got to change this. This is good. So I put together a marketing plan. A little bit of it was branding, but mostly it was like, we're going to do this and this and this and this. And I executed and did that. In the next 6 months, we added 1,200 customers on top of our six. Like I doubled what we had done in 6 years. And that was magical, and it almost killed me. It almost destroyed our team because we didn't have a system in place to handle that. We didn't have the capacity.
Right.
So we were struggling. But they get your name out there. So there are two parts that, like, there's 1,000 ways to do it. And you just pick one and test it. Take another one and test it. And like we have a concept we call bullets before cannonballs. Like start small. Like get 500 flyers out or door hangers and just test it. You get some calls, test it again. You get the same, like if it's repeatable, like now go put 10,000 out. Like go big, but don't waste all your money up front in something that may or may not work. Right.
Interesting.
And there was a key point where we got a review, and I was like, nobody cares about reviews. And I don't mean to sound like I'm not trying to like talk about your guys and what you do, but I was like, I don't care about reviews. I want a referral from a friend. And then something clicked. I was like, we need to focus on reviews. And so I started asking. We just asked. It was before we used Nice Job. But then once we started to focus on it, we saw nobody else in our field, in our area, was doing it at all.
Yeah.
And so we get 50 reviews. One other guy has one. And then it's like our phone rings more and more. And one day we got a call. I go do the estimate in person, open the door, and the lady, her name was Kara. She's like, oh my God, you're from Spectrum. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, all right, I'm a little uncomfortable here. But I was like, okay, what's up? And she's like, I read all of your reviews, and I would never call anyone else.
Wow.
I was like, we're onto something. And from that moment, I told the team, I was like, we will always have 10 times more reviews than the next guy.
Yeah.
And we did for a long time. It's harder to stay that far ahead, but we've got 9 times more reviews.
That's amazing.
So things come to us first. But anyway, sorry.
That's a good point.
Running down a rabbit hole. I got a lot of rabbit holes.
Reviews seemed like they were a key aspect of scaling that business.
Yes.
What else contributed to scaling it from just you handing out those flyers, 8x11, cutting them in fours to where it was being successful?
So anything that you're doing that works, that can be automated, automate it. So we automated a lot of stuff. Like, well, it's not really automation, but if you can duplicate and replace yourself, a great way to do that was with video, right? So we made a video and then put it on our website that says the same thing I would say at your door. Like, hi, I'm Sid. I'm really honored that you would ask us to give you a quote. Yeah. And then they can get a quote online. So people do that all the time, and I'm not there. So that's a great way to do it and scale it. Anything that you find that's working in your marketing, is it your Facebook ads? They're working? Push more money into it until it stops growing. Like, find out what the capacity is. Do the same thing. Like, we still do door hangers today, and we still get 1.5 response rate, 1.5%. So 100, out 1.5 phone calls, however that works, right? And so we just continue. I was stumped to figure out that, like, when we put a lawn sign in somebody's yard, like, on average, one lawn sign equals one new job. I'm like, a lawn sign costs $4. Yeah. But our average ticket's $450. Like, so then we started preaching, ask the customer to put a lawn sign. They're like, but they say no. I'm like, do they really say no? Did you ask? Yes. They say no. I'm like, so we just changed. We like Well, how can we get them to say yes?
Yeah.
And it's funny, little things that are so simple. We used to say, would you mind if we left a lawn sign in your yard? We'll pick it up in a week. Like, nah, I don't really want that out there. And we went, would you mind if we left a lawn sign in your yard? We'll pick it up next week. It would really help us out. They go, okay. Because they have a
they're
reason.
doing you a favor. Yeah.
The reason is it would help me out.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no difference.
Yeah. It's quite fascinating, like what like these small things have a big impact.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting like how a lot of times communities and neighborhoods drive business just because it's like you see your neighbor getting a service done and they're like, okay, well if they got it, it must be good because you know what I mean? Like, or I can at least ask them or ask about it, right? So it's like these small tips that like a lot of times are forgotten about, right? It's just they can actually have a huge impact on the business. You can go there for one job and leave with like 6.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time, right? People walking the neighborhood, going for a walk with their wife, you know what I mean, during their lunch break, if they're working remotely or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, and then running into a neighbor or a neighbor knocking on the door saying, "Hey, who called you?" And I've experienced it personally, right? With any kind of like, whether I got my windows tinted or a concrete pad poured or a sprinkler system put, whatever it is that you're putting in. Every single time, somebody in that neighborhood has gotten that service from that professional.
Yeah.
And that's it. And some of it's just like a lawn sign has been, or just knocking on their door, right? Or seeing the actual marketing on the truck or on the job truck in the neighborhood. So it's interesting, like the small things that can make a difference, right?
Yeah. Well, like that's the original social proof before there was social media.
It is the original social proof.
You see it, and you're like, oh, you're using that? Are they good? Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that to lean into that, like there's so many things you can do that it's easy to be distracted.
Yeah.
So it's important to like test and pick. Once you get good at that, add something else because you don't want your stool to stand on one leg.
Yeah.
But then there's such low-hanging fruit. And like the simplest thing, like talk about the tweak that we used. Another one is referrals. Like I'm big on referrals. You know why? Like there's no acquisition cost to referral.
Yeah.
0. And most of the time, the person that is referred, the trust transfers from Mo to you.
Yeah.
You say, hey, use them. You're like, oh, okay. You're a trust. So that means they're less resistant to price and they say yes more often.
Yeah.
So it's better than someone finding you online or anything else. So much better. And we're like, got to ask for review or referrals. But I never taught anybody how, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's interesting because yesterday I was moderating a panel with Christine Hodge and Joshua Brown.
Yeah.
And Christine was basically saying that like after Google reviews or Google in general, her second source of leads is referrals. And she's like, it costs us nothing.
Yeah.
That's the same for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so last year, September 23rd, we had a big meeting and which was like, we'd taught people how to ask for a referral, but we're like, we get 2 or 3 a month, which is great. I was like, we just need to formalize this and put it in writing. So it didn't take long. We set up there are 7 times that we ask for a referral. When somebody calls in, you know, and they're getting a quote or whatever, you say, our office manager says, you know, we have a good neighbor discount. Do you have a neighbor that would like to get their stuff done? You'll both get 10% off.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever said yes. But when they call back to book, they go, we have a good neighbor discount. Do you have a neighbor? So that's number 2. And then when we get to the job site, then, well, it's also in the confirmation email, but when you get to the job site and the guys knock on the door, like, hey, we're here to do this job. Our goal today is to do such a great job. We earn your 5-star review.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to tell all your friends and neighbors about us. Sound good? Great. We're going to get started. So we're just planting the seed. It's not an ask. Yeah. But when the job is done, we walk the job and check it out. We go, everything looked good to you? Great. Did we earn your 5-star review? Mm-hmm. And they'll say yes or no. And if it's yes, they're great. I'm going to send you a link so you can post a review. Thank you so much. Really helps us out. And then we ask them to refer their neighbors and friends. We just have a leave behind card that they can take a picture of and text to all their friends. Yeah. And it's got a QR code on it. And then when we're finished, you know, the next day they get the phone call and then they get a note card and then they get a follow-up. So they get asked 7 times and our referrals went up 5 times. The day we started, like 5, and that's not dramatic, but it's dramatic. It's like, that's an extra $80,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, even one extra person, it gets you one client. That's already a client you didn't have before.
Yeah.
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 That's really cool. What mistakes do you think that smaller entrepreneurs make when they're trying to scale their business?
Most small entrepreneurs, from experience, from working, now we work with hundreds of entrepreneurs, is like they're either just hesitant to ask, they think they know everything, or it's the classic e-myth where they go, I'm a great technician, I'm gonna start my own business. And they think that the business is doing the thing. And that's 5% of a business.
Yeah.
The other 95% is the same. It's like, if you want to scale your business, you need to learn business. You need to learn the language of business. You need sales and marketing and bookkeeping, accounting, and processes and administration.
Yeah.
And you can't build a business without it.
Oh, that's a great answer.
So I want to wrap, but I want to ask one more question. And that's, what strategies have you found to be the most effective when it comes to building a solid team?
Most people don't start this way. I didn't. Like, you go, oh, I got to hire so-and-so and I got to do a thing and whatever, build a team. And you're like, you think I'm going to get these people in here and we'll just train them and stuff. The most effective thing that I've seen toward building a great team is to start by writing your core values down nice and clear. And everything you do in hiring a team starts with the core values. It's in your advertisement when you're recruiting. It's in your interview when you're interviewing. It's in your training. It's in everything you do is your core values. Because if you want to build a team that you're going to love working with, they need to line up with you on a deep level. And those core values will, like, if your core value is be on time, set your interview at 7 a.m. And if they're late, you know that they don't have that core value. It's just gonna but you weed people. It automatically sorts people for you. Yeah. That you don't want on your team that you're gonna have to fire later anyway. Well, it's a lot more fun if you just never hire them, and you get people that they're already aligned. Like, we believe the same thing.
100%.
The technical skills are pretty easy.
I love it.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Sid. This was great. You had a lot of good insights for us. We always ask everyone, where can they find you?
At the Huge Convention.
Come to the Huge Convention. Yeah. That's where you'll find Sid.
thehugeconvention.com or the Huge Convention Facebook page. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you both. Thanks
Absolutely.
For putting
Actually, for those that are listening, can you maybe just give a quick, brief overview of what is the Huge Convention? So
the Huge Convention, without talking about all the vendors and all the things, it's about education, networking, and the trade show. It's like, because I believe deeply, and we build on this platform, that it's who you meet and what you learn that are going to make the biggest difference, as long as you do something with it.
Love it. So if you haven't, if you didn't attend this year, make sure you attend next year. It's a great show. Yeah. A lot of great talks, a lot of great people to meet and network, like Sid said. But yeah, thanks again, Sid. This was great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That wraps up this week's episode of the Built by Me podcast.
As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Instagram at Built by Me Podcast.
Till next time,
keep building.